Hey guys, ChipmunkinHD here, and let's talk about encounters of the 1, 2, 3 count and third kind. And if that introduction wasn't lame enough for you, I'm sure you'll love the rest of this commentary because it's going to get very lame and very nerdy. So yeah guys, let's talk about aliens. Already, I bet you're wondering what inspired this exact commentary, and I honestly have no clue. It could possibly have been the episode of Supernatural I just watched, where Dean is abducted by aliens who then turn out to be fairies, who they defeat when they pour a sugar shaker, which by the way, I didn't know sugar shakers existed. Where I come from, we put sugar into things with like teaspoons. We don't use shakers. Like that's for salt and pepper. I don't know. But yeah, what was I saying? Oh yeah, they poured the sugar shaker on the ground and the angry little leprechaun had to sit there and count each grain, so yeah. I'm really into some weird things, and I don't mean supernatural. I mean, for a while I was fairly certain that clouds were in fact government satellites that were gathering intelligence on our everyday lives. Of course now I realise that they're just clouds and they mean rain, which isn't much better. And I've lived the past 10 years of my life certain that I'm living in a giant bubble, and my life is actually a TV show because I happened to watch The Truman Show once when I was a kid. But aliens have never been something that I got behind 100%. Sure, I've thought about it, but I've never been like, this is gonna happen, I'm gonna get abducted. Shockingly, they're one of the more believable things that I have trouble following on with. I mean, the idea of humanity being the only sentient being capable of communications in the entire universe, or the galaxy, or whatever you want to call it, or the cosmos, is probably the same chances I have of spending Valentine's Day with a girl instead of my right hand. But I just can't get behind Little Green Man showing up in a spaceship that looks like a giant metallic frisbee, deciding it's a good idea to push down some corn, blow up some cows, and stick a probe in my ass. I mean, come on. There's millions of videos on YouTube and around the web of reported UFO sightings. Generally, these videos, they're bright dots in the night sky that vary from red, white, yellow, green, purple, whatever's in the rainbow and some others. These are never identical in any way, and can usually be explained pretty simply by like various atmospheric interference, or satellites, or planes, or all of which have nothing to do with tiny little green men in silver jumpsuits who enjoy pushing corn down, blowing up some cows, or sticking probes in someone's rectum. What I enjoy most about alien theorists, or so-called ufologists, and it wounds me to say that word, didn't give them a title, is that they're essentially replicating the ideas that were spread millennia ago by those who saw angels, or the gods. One really interesting book about this whole topic is Eric von Daniken's Chariot of the Gods. Now, von Daniken is one of these ufologists, or theorists, whatever you want to call them, and actually suggests that it is entirely possible that gods of the old world are in fact space aliens who came down and visited primitive man. He provides evidence of his theory by offering that the pyramids and ziggurats created by primitive civilizations show a level of technology far beyond what was around back then. I'd offer the counterpoint though that slaves get shit done. And when you have a grand idea like the pyramids and an endless legion of slaves who mean nothing to you, ready to be forced into labour until they die, I reckon I could get about anything done. Von Daniken also interpreted a number of ancient artworks to show astronauts and space-age technology. I wonder myself if Eric has ever had a dream and he couldn't really explain it, but he could picture it. I mean, it's entirely possible for early civilizations artists, who may have been nothing more than the comic graffiti artists of today, they may have just had a wild imagination. I mean, without TV to occupy their minds at least 16 hours a day, I'm sure they imagined a lot of wild things, or they took up oil wrestling with other naked men like the Greeks. Either way. Really, this whole ancient astronaut theory goes way back to H.P. Lovecraft's Call of Cthulhu, which is an astounding horror story for its time. Really, it is. I love that book, go read it. But I certainly wouldn't be putting it on the shelf next to physics textbooks as fact rather than fiction. The idea that aliens would even care about our planet is so self-conceited that of course it's sprouted from the head of a human. We're self-centered, we all are, we care about ourselves. And the idea that aliens capable of interstellar travel, and probably more accurately intergalactical travel, would care about a fledgling little species that has an aging population, global warming, and a rapidly expanding growth that the planet won't be able to sustain for more than a few centuries is utterly ridiculous. Why would they care about us? More than likely, they'll look at us, laugh, and go on about their intergalactic pizza deliveries to all the other planets under their control. I mean, let's assume that aliens do exist for a moment, and they make contact with humanity. They take in Voyager 1 or 2 and discover everything on those discs about our history, politics, and religion, and all these things. What they'll see is a history full of bloody violence, senseless murder, and a planet divided amongst itself because there is no true central power. Having played a lot of Age of Empires, to me, that sounds like the makings of an empire I'm going to have no problems taking over. Essentially, I find the idea that aliens would care about us whatsoever abhorrent, and if they do exist, and did care enough to take notice, then I'm guessing they're going to look to take over Earth, or use us for their will, to create their own pyramids and ziggurats. call me cynical, but if someone's willing to push down corn, blow up my cows, and stick a probe in my ass, I'm guessing it'll be willing to enslave humanity. I don't believe in UFOs, I don't believe in aliens, and I find the idea of them so utterly ridiculous that sometimes it's just funny to sit back and laugh at the people who come up with it. The chances may be infinitely small that we're the only life forms in the entirety of the universe, but I find it even less likely that those other life forms would give 3 shakes of a lamb's leg about what's happening on our small insignificant planet that may not be here for much longer with the way humanity is going about its business. Anyway guys, this has been, as always, ChipmunkinHD, and I will see you guys later.